Welcome to the Volunteer and Combination Officer Section weekly webinar series. We hold these webinars every Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So we are glad that you're here with us today. My name is John Buckman. I'm going to be the host for today's webinar. You won't see a lot of me or hear a lot from me until later on in the end. We are in for a treat today. We have our instructor, our presenter is Tom Merrill from Snyder, New York Fire Department. He has authored a book called The Professional Volunteer Fire Department. And I will tell you, look at all the tabs that I use when I read books. I will tell you that every fire chief that manages volunteers needs a copy of this book. It has got that much good information. I hear from fire chiefs every day who talk to me about, you're not going to believe what my firefighters did, or you're not going to believe the phone call I got. Yes, I will. More than likely, I've heard it before. But Tom is going to do a presentation today on performance, behavior, and appearance by both volunteer and career firefighters. These attributes apply to both sides. But a few housekeeping things before we get started. We're using voice over IP technology. If you have problems, we make sure that your speakers are turned on and the volume is turned up so that you can hear it. And then your microphones have been muted. If you experience technical difficulties, contact webinars at ifc.org or go in the chat room and ask me a question. There will be handouts and question and answers at the end. The handouts will be put online and the chat will go on as we go through this. I encourage you to tell me who's here. We'd love to know who's here. We love to know if our friend from Peru is here with us. We've had one presenter, or one of our students has been here since almost every one of our webinars. What is the VCOS doing? There's a lot of things that we're doing. We obviously have what we say is our flagship educational seminars. That's Symposium in the Sun in November in Clearwater Beach. It's tough to go to Florida in November, but you'll go in, you'll find 3.5 days of intense, high quality education. So we encourage you to go look at the vcos.org website and register and come on down to Florida with us. Don't wait, because we've sold out for 8 years now. And those are some of the other things the VCOS is doing. So the webinar series has been a very successful educational program. We encourage you to use these afterwards. They're recorded. We encourage you to use these as part of your officers' meetings. We do various ribbon reports, try to give you, the fire chief, some tools in your hands to help you do a better job. Upcoming events, what's going on? We got a webinar next week. So there's lots of things going on. I don't need to read all that stuff to you. So before I give it to Tom, I just want to tell us a little bit about this man, because it's amazing the things that he's accomplished other than authoring this book. He's been married to Mary since 1982. They have 4 daughters. He's been on the Snyder, New York Fire Department forever. He works full time at Amherst Central Fire Alarm Office. And one of the interesting statements he made in the very front of the book, he talked about confronted by challenging times. And I think every officer on this webinar, and every officer in every fire department, has to realize we are confronted by challenging times. It's not your father's fire department anymore. And with that, Tom, I will be quiet and turn it over to you. Break a leg.
Thank you, Chief Buckman, and thank you for the great endorsement for the book. I truly appreciate that. And I thank the International Association of Fire Chiefs and the Volunteer and Combination Officers section for the invitation to be here with you today. I love talking about our great fire service, and something I'm very passionate about, and that's the volunteer side, because that's what I've been involved with for 42 years now. And Chief Buckman, you're so right that it's not your father's fire service any longer. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I could go on and on about that. But you know what I like to tell people is these are your new members' good old days. We all like to look back at how it was when we joined back in the day and how things are different today. But to those people joining today, this is all they know. And if we run our volunteer fire departments the right way, they definitely will look back at the year 2024 as those were the good old days. So really, that's something to think about. And but I think we need to celebrate being part of this great, iconic fire service. And thank you for the invitation to spend some time with you today talking about it, because this iconic Maltese cross that we love to wear is so well known, isn't it? It is so well recognized around the world. And it's definitely a stirring symbol of compassion and humility. And as that famous author, Kurt Vonnegut, so appropriately said, it's, man's humanity to man. That's what that stands for. But just the same as people recognize that, they recognize that symbol and what it stands for, it's important to remember that our citizens have some basic expectations of those who wear that symbol. They expect that they're going to perform competently and behave appropriately and look and dress like a true professional. These are just some basic expectations that the public has of us and those responding to their call for help. So that's what we're going to talk about for the next hour or so, in how we can be sure that we're meeting these simple and very basic, but yet so important expectations that our community residents have. And we're also going to talk about why it's important to do so. And even as volunteers, and I believe I have a cross section of paid, career, and volunteers here, this mantra applies to all of us. Yes, even volunteers. It's so important to deliver on those expectations to our communities. And as the sign says, being a volunteer is never an excuse to perform mediocrity with mediocrity. Appropriate behavior, performing capably, and looking respectable while on duty applies to everyone within our organizations. In our volunteer ranks, we have all different roles, right? We have our interior firefighters, but we might also have administrative members or people that maybe they run the bingo or chair other committees, but they're not frontline firefighters. Maybe they're just drivers. Doesn't matter. Everybody can be a professional no matter what their role is, and everybody can act appropriately and perform capably. And we all have different types of members beyond that, right? We have our gray crowd, our gray beards, and our gray haired members, which I'm a member of that group. And we've got our youth, right? All these darn youth today. But again, this applies to everybody, what I'm going to talk about today. This isn't a chief's thing. It's not a president's thing. It's everybody, whether you're a frontline firefighter or a scene support member or even just an auxiliary member. It applies across the board. Now, some people will say, oh, Merrill, why do you worry about this? Why do you care? It's not like people have a choice when they call for help. There's no 912. They're going to get their local fire department, and it is what it is. But I really think it's important because, in my opinion, and I hope you share this, we need our communities as much as they need us. I mean, think about it. They are out there supporting us in so many ways, right? They're at our barbecues and our field days, and they support our fund drives. And if we behave appropriately and look like a professional and perform competently, folks, that may even get us additional members. I mean, who wants to join an organization if the people are mean or kind of dysfunctional, right? So this can help in so many ways if we do these things the way we want to. A satisfied public will definitely win us the support that we want and that we need. And it's important to remember that times have really changed. I mean, time was back in the day, people recognized that their volunteer fire department was a very cost-effective operation. Heck, there were waiting lists to join most volunteer fire departments. And even if a resident wasn't a member, chances are they knew people that were involved in the fire department. And they were probably up there quite often because the firehouse was often the center of community events, hosting those field days and barbecues and all sorts of other community events that would see residents flocking to the firehouse. And it can be said in those simpler times of yesteryear that residents were maybe inclined to overlook certain indiscretions. They weren't so judgmental, and maybe they would look past poor performance or behavior issues, and definitely weren't concerned maybe about how members look. It definitely was far simpler times. But as I said, times are definitely changing. And even on the volunteer side, we are open to scrutiny like never before. And competent performance and appropriate behavior and proper dress are simple expectations that we can deliver upon. Nothing's impeding this. That's the cool thing with what I'm going to talk to you about today. This isn't hard. This isn't rocket science. None of this is graduate level material. And performance, appearance, and behavior are actually a chapter in the book that Chief Buckman talked about that I wrote. And I could spend a lot more than an hour on this topic, and I did in the book because it's so important that we understand this and embrace these attributes of what I like to say are attributes of any professional first responder. It's not just the volunteer side of thing. In fact, I believe it applies to law enforcement, EMS, and it applies beyond the fire and first responder community as well. But it's the fire service that I'm passionate about, and that's why I really want to focus on that today. So let's delve into it. Let's talk about these things, starting with our performance. It's so important to deliver quality performance to our residents. Take a step back and think about that. Don't you expect it from other professionals in your community? Your police officers, for certain, school teachers? How about the mechanic working on your car, or the worker coming to do house at your house or work at your house, right? You expect a good performance, that they're going to know what they're doing and do the job capably. Isn't that fair? Well, it's just the same with the fire service. So that gets right down to how are we going to perform better? And the bottom line is we have to train. Competent performance comes from having a quality drill and training program. And here's the key: everyone needs to participate. There's these dysfunctional moments that happen in the volunteer fire service, and all fire service for that matter. And that's, I've been in so many years, I don't have to drill it too much. I don't have to go to as many drills. I really think that's a recipe for disaster. And I think a good professional organization that wants to deliver a really good service to their residents is going to put programs in place and mandate that members attend drill and hold people accountable to attend those drills, and nobody gets a pass. That will help anybody's performance. And remember, somebody's having a bad day and saying somebody do something, you're the somebody. There's nobody else. There's no 912, as I said. You are the somebody. The public is counting on you. They are counting on you. And you are part of a public service, and you took an oath. You probably filled out an application and signed that application to say, I am going to be here for you to help you in your time of need. That's what it's about. It's not about a t-shirt. It's about them. It's never about you. It's about them and performing capably to take care of their situation, whatever it is. And at the same time, we got to be cognizant of the fact we're not in a land of make-believe here. We are not wearing costumes. This is a very serious business that we are part of. And I don't care if you've been in 5 years, 10 years, 42 years like me. Drill and training night is one of the most important things that we need to participate in our volunteer fire departments. There's no doubt that a good quality training program is going to lead to a good performance. But as I said, that's only part of it. What makes it truly exceptional and leads to exceptional performance is when everyone participates. And folks, that means you as well. Along with your buy-in, your department must buy in and ensure that it's establishing realistic and relevant training expectations and holding people accountable. No excuses. And just along with that, you need to remember how important it is in support training, especially you veteran members, because you really set the example. If you're not participating and you're bad-mouthing training, it can really filter down through the ranks and impact our drill and training night. in a very bad way, too. There's no underestimating the importance of getting senior members to attend the training drill. I always like to go to a picture of the previous year's World Series champions, which in this case was the Texas Rangers. They won the World Series back in October. What are they doing right now? They're practicing at spring training, getting ready for opening day. And you know what? Their veteran members are out there practicing. They're out there fielding grounders, throwing the ball, fielding grounders, throwing the ball, even gold glove winners, even the batting champion, the best one on the team with the highest average. He's still doing it at training. Doesn't get a pass. They won the World Series. Our World Series is handling a call competently, performing well, and everybody comes home from that. And we do that by training and getting everybody to participate, because that is what professionals do. And another way to be properly prepared is to put a good playbook together. I wanted to put this slide in of Deputy Chief Frank Lieb, a rising star in the American Fire Service. Listening to him on a podcast not that long ago, and I heard him say the difference between winning and losing can be in training, which we just talked about, and in preparation. In my mind, preparation means we are students of our playbook. No matter what helmet we are wearing back home, everybody can be properly prepared by training and being a student of their playbook. No matter what role it is, if you're a probie, all the way up to the chief of department, you've got to participate and be ready for when it happens. There's that Maltese cross again. And when people see that, they're expecting things out of you. I like to tell the story about a group of firefighters that delivered a patient to the hospital. They were standing outside the hospital talking to nurses and doctors when a car came up. A frantic mother got out of the car and unbuckled a child from the car seat. Her child was sick. That's why she rushed her to the emergency room. She unbuckles her child and runs up to these doctors and nurses and firefighters standing at the ER door. Who does she hand her sick child to? She handed her sick child to the ones wearing the Maltese cross. That's what that Maltese cross stands for. It stands for the fact that you're going to be prepared, you're going to be ready, and you're going to be able to help people in their time of need. And we do that by being trained and prepared, no matter what role it is in your department. If you're a scene support member, maybe you're directing traffic, be the best scene support member there is, and drill and participate in the training drills and learn all you can about the job and what you're expected to be performing at, so you can perform at the level expected. Be a student of your department's playbook. That will really contribute greatly to better on-scene performance. Hopefully, your department has a playbook, and if there isn't, I highly encourage you to put one together. Now, I'm not going to get into any discussion about whether it's an SOP or an SOG or now best practices. Clearly defined operational procedures should be written down, and that is a template that can be followed on the training ground to get all members performing better. Get everybody operating on the same page to limit freelancing and to establish expectations and outline basic crew duties and responsibilities that members can train on over and over so it becomes second nature. And when it's go time, they perform at the top of their game. And here's the cool thing about a well put together playbook. It can be done for both sides of the aisle. Yeah, the fire side, the operations side, but we never really talk about the administrative side. And don't we sometimes get in trouble on the volunteer fire side for sure on our administrative side? I mean, think about the impact on your department if your treasurer does something bad or doesn't pay bills or your minutes aren't recorded properly. There's a lot of things that can go wrong on the administrative side that we kind of just don't think about that often. And I think a playbook can really help there and should be put together for the administrative side as well. Chief Billy Goldfeder said it so well. And if you don't know who Chief Billy Goldfeder is, please Google his name. As a professional first responder, everybody should know the movers and shakers in the fire service, both alive and deceased. And Chief Billy Goldfeder is still with us and still a great instructor and has so much great information to pass on. But he said it so well. You can't run your volunteer firehouse like a three-ring circus, and then the tones drop and you want everyone to perform like the U.S. Marine Corps. It ain't going to work. A playbook can help, because a well-run fire department mandates structure. It mandates organizational excellence, and a playbook will help you channel that. It really will. And one thing I like to do, and I actually wrote an article for Fire Engineering on this a couple of years ago, is do the what if drill with my members if we're out at a routine call. Let me give you an example. We go to routine calls pretty much every day, right? The fire alarm at the group home, the alarm at the senior home where you've been to because the alarm keeps malfunctioning, or they're burning popcorn at the medical office, whatever it is, right? You know those routine calls that we can get very complacent at. What I like to talk to the membership about, and I encourage you to try this, is just take 5 minutes of your members' time the next time you're at a call like that, and just gather them around the truck or outside at the curb. Everyone's got to get back to, especially on the volunteer side, understand it, got to get back to work, got to get back home. Totally understand that. We're only taking 5 minutes to do the what if drill. What if this was something? Understand it was burnt popcorn. Understand that darn alarm system's broken again. Understand that water dripped on it due to a broken pipe. Totally get just 5 minutes. But what if this was a fire? How do our SOPs, SOGs, best practices apply here? Where would we park? What lines would we stretch? What hazards do we see with this particular building? Oh, does this particular building have a fire department connection? What is a fire department connection? Oh, there's a new member here. Do you understand how we would hook up to this fire department connection and what a fire department connection is? Oh, and look, it's got special caps that need this special Knox key to get the cap off. Where is our Knox key? Do you think we might perform a little better the next time that turns into a real call, a real situation where we need to perform competently and quickly? I think it can help us all be better prepared. And I believe you would agree with that as well. So practice the what if drill. It takes a couple minutes. You don't do it at every call, but here and there, do it with your members. They'll be much more appreciative that they actually went to the call and it just wasn't some wasted 15 minutes of their time again. So just try the what if drill to make your membership be a little more prepared. And let's be honest, being prepared means we need to be physically fit to do the job required. We can definitely be better prepared if we take care of ourselves. And this is definitely a topic I almost cut out for the discussion point today, but I really believe it's important to talk about it. We can all be in better shape. I'm no 6'2" picture of perfect, strong firefighter, but I've never wanted my fitness level to impact my crew. We've got to take better care of ourselves. This is definitely something that's under your own personal control. There's no excuses. Doesn't matter what the politics of the day are back at the firehouse. Being fit is up to you and no one else. Dan Kerrigan and Jim Moss run a tremendous website and have a tremendous following for physical fitness. And Dan and Jim said it so well. Being fit for duty is the most basic requirement for every firefighter, both career and volunteer. It's up to us, folks. We need to take good care of ourselves. We do so much together in the volunteer fire service, in the fire service. We do so much together. You need, you're putting a roof on. You need help? We're over there helping you out. Your car's having problems? We'll come over and figure it out with you. Bring it into the firehouse. We'll take a look at it, right? Why don't we do more of this together? This is a photo from my firehouse pre-COVID, where we had a personal trainer come into the firehouse a couple days a week and work with our firefighters to try and get them in the best shape that they could possibly get in. By the way, you see our bay doors there? The public was walking by and they would see firefighters working out. You think that helped our image a little bit? But we do so much together. Let's encourage each other. Let's work together. Let's maybe join as a department some local charity events and runs, 5Ks and walks, and do it together, and maybe get shirts made with our department's name. You know what that would do for your department's image? And at the same time, help you be more physically fit. And at the same time, then by extension, help you perform better. It's just something we've got to talk about. And I think we can encourage each other to achieve a better level of fitness. There's just so much we do together, and I think we can spend time doing that. And you know what else will make you a better performing firefighter? Is taking the time to find a little bit more about what's going on in our fire service. You'll be better prepared and a better prepared member of your organization if you embrace the mindset that you're going to learn something every day about this job that you do that can kill you, even as a volunteer. This isn't scouts. This isn't sports. Nothing against those at all, right? We love those organizations. But this one can kill you. Learn about what's going on in the fire service. I'm a little old school. I still believe departments, if they can do it, should purchase some reading material for the members. Some of the monthly publications like Firehouse and Fire Engineering, I encourage them to put them in the club room or where the members congregate so they can pick them up and read them a little bit. If you're not staying on top of things in the fire service, folks, you're not just letting yourself down. You're letting down your fellow firefighters. You're letting your department down. And you're letting down the residents in the community that you serve. Think of all the news and information that's out there today concerning lithium-ion battery fires. Think we could be a little better prepared if we have one of those incidents in our territory, if we're reading about it ahead of time, if we're staying on top of what other departments have encountered and maybe what they've done. We need to pay attention to what's going on. Again, what other vocation do you become a member of that could so easily make you get hurt or sick or killed, right? You can die if you're not properly prepared, and your residents can most definitely suffer. So take some time out each day to read a little bit about this wonderful but very dangerous fire service that you are part of. Whatever works for you. There's so much good material online as well. So maybe not everybody is a reader. Then go online and subscribe online to these various fire service organizations, such as IAFC and VCOS, right? They are going to provide you so much great information and make you a better prepared firefighter. Pick a legend. Learn from him or her. There's so many great people out there. And as I said earlier, alive and deceased, that have contributed so much to our fire service and can reward you with so much of their knowledge that they've learned over the years that they want to pass on to you. Lessons, sure, on tactics and strategy, but also leadership. And there's people out there that you can look up to and learn from. Pick people that you like, subscribe to their material, to their websites, get their books, and ask yourself, you take this job very seriously or you wouldn't be watching this webinar here today, right? So ask yourself, what did you read today about this fire service? What'd you read this week? Okay, what did you read this month? Hopefully you read something this year or last year, right? And there's no shortage of good, solid reading material out there that'll help you perform better. And I had to put a shameless plug in for my latest book that came out that's all about the volunteer fire service world. But whoever, pick some people, read their material, and make yourself a better prepared firefighter. There's a very famous picture that's taken of Alan Brunacini, and I hope you know who he is. And I'm going to give you a homework assignment. If you don't know who Alan Brunacini is, write his name down and learn about this legendary fire chief, one of the most respected and revered figures to ever serve in the American fire service. The chief of the Phoenix, Arizona Fire Department for decades. He was so looked up to, they called him America's fire chief. and recognition of his contributions to the fire service for decades. Here he is in the twilight of his life. He passed away a few years ago at the age of 80, coming back from a fire conference. But here he is. This picture was taken by Mike Agliano from Seattle at the FDIC conference several years ago, a year or two before he passed away. And I know it might be hard to see, but in Chief Brunacini's hand there is a notebook. And he was taking notes at the FDIC conference. He was sitting in a class taking notes. The man that taught thousands of American firefighters and firefighters throughout the world is still taking notes at almost 80 years of age. What does that tell you? You're never too old to learn. You've never been in this fire service long enough that you can't continue to learn. And for as long as you choose to be an active member, a participating member in our fire service, you must learn something about it every day. And there's a lot of ways to do it, as I just discussed with you. Never stop learning, and you'll perform much better. Powerful photo. A very, very powerful photo. And Bruno, or Chief Brunacini, as he was affectionately known as, also had a huge, we got to go back. One slide there. Yeah. And Bruno, as he was affectionately known as, had a huge influence on the next section that we're going to talk about, which is behavior. Now, I want you to get your pens out. I want you to get ready to take some notes, because this is going to be complicated for you. You might have to read your notes a few times to really understand what I'm going to talk about here with this subject matter of behavior, because it takes time to digest it and takes some time to understand it. But here it is. You ready? Be nice. There. That's it. In our crazy, mixed up world today, can we still be nice? Because even when the public isn't nice, they still expect their first responders to be nice. And it might not come naturally for some people, but it's important that we focus on simply being nice. And as I said, even when the public doesn't behave appropriately, they're still going to be expecting us to behave appropriately. Now, our image, our fire department image, is formed by so many different ways, right? And sometimes we damage it ourselves, do we not? Sometimes our inappropriate behavior can really be bad because of what we've done in our own firehouse. And sometimes our image and our reputation is formed by how we're doing things out in the public. I like to call it the hardcore things, right? If we do a good job fighting a fire, cutting somebody out of a car, handling a medical call, boy, does our image really look good, and we enhance it and people talk about us, right? But that's only part of the equation, because people are going to form their opinion of us by some softer methods as well. What I like to call the softer sides of things, and how we take care of them on those softer issues. And to do a good job of taking care of people on the softer sides of things, we need to get skilled in the proper skill set of social fitness etiquette. I think this is lacking today. I really do. Social fitness or appropriate behavior isn't coming easy for people today, and I want it to come easy to our professional first responders. So people will say, Merrill, what are you talking about? What is this social fitness? Well, social fitness is just something you know when you see it. Appropriate social fitness is something you know when you hear it. And appropriate social fitness is something you know when you personally experience it, right? You just know when something is done right. It just feels right, or it's just so classy that you just know that it was appropriate. Assisting an elderly resident across the street, or helping them if they drop something, or handling people's possessions if they've had a fire at their house and you're taking care of their possessions. You're taking the steps necessary to protect what's near and dear to them. That's appropriate social fitness etiquette. And as professional first responders, it's important that you know that those little things can really make quite an impact on the people. As a matter of fact, you have a chance to do that more often than not every day in your interaction with people at your work, in your community. They know you're a firefighter, right? How are you interacting with people? How are you treating people? You can have good social fitness interaction with people every single day in your routine day to day operations more than at the big fire or emergency scene. And you can really enhance your image, your department's image, and by extension, our fire service's image by behaving appropriately. Perhaps you've been exposed to the book, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. If you haven't, it's a quick read. It's a nice, easy read. I would recommend that you check it out. But it's a great book that talks about common human behaviors and what are expected social norms and where a civilized community learns these behaviors and these social norms and how often you realize you learned it in kindergarten. Well, another book to read, and it's by the late legendary Chief Brunacini, is The Essentials of Fire Department Customer Service. Same idea, directed at the fire service. The basic premise of Chief Brunacini's writing: what does the public expect when they call for help? Think about it. What do they expect when they call 911? They expect people to show up and know what they are doing, and they expect them to be nice. Again, isn't that a fair statement? You want that from your doctor. You want that from your auto mechanic. You want that from your kids' teachers, right? Be nice. He introduced us to a character named Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith wants us to take care of her problem and to be nice. And as Chief Brunacini says, in the long run, that human interaction is what's most often remembered, not the shiny red truck or that real expensive piece of equipment you might have bought and used for the first time. You know, we go to these conferences and these conventions, such as the great FDIC coming up in a few weeks, and the trade show floor is filled with millions of dollars of expensive equipment and tools and the latest and greatest must have. But what is Mrs. Smith going to remember? Not going to remember that you used that new nozzle, use that newest EMS, stop the bleed or whatever it is that you did use. No. It's you took care of the problem and that you treated him or her in a nice way. Our bedside manner literally creates an impression that will last a lifetime. And a smile is a very inexpensive method to instantly connect with someone and display compassion and kindness and show that you care. That's it. Can we do that? Is that so hard to offer respect, be compassionate, show patience, and have true empathy? And again, we can do this so much more often at routine interactions than even at serious calls. So many times it's the softer things that make the biggest impact. And even if the call that we're going on is very routine to us and we've been on it over and over again, and maybe we're getting a little burned out, to the person that called, it's very important. To Mrs. Smith, it's the most important thing going on in her life that day. And we need to remember that. That's appropriate social fitness. And our behavior, remember, is both on duty and off duty, and on the incident scene and off the incident scene. It's at every public interaction. It's important to remember you are a firefighter and you are representing the fire service. Could be at a call, could be out when you're shopping with the troops from the firehouse, could be when you're at a local event at school, but you got your fire department shirt on, could be out when you're socializing. People know you're a firefighter and they're judging you, and by extension, your department, and by extension, our fire service, by how you are acting. And it's important to remember that. People sometimes say, well, I'm a volunteer. How does anybody even know I'm a firefighter? Think about it. We love to display it, do we not? We've got the license plates. We've got the special light. And we've got the vehicle sticker. Oh my gosh, the vehicle sticker. When I was chief of department, I think that was one of the most coveted thing that my members wanted every time they got a new car. Chief, I need a sticker. Because they probably think it's going to get them out of traffic tickets, right? Well, we used to sit down and talk to those members about, you got a sticker identifying you. That's great. You're proud to be a member of the Snyder Fire Department. Well, we're proud to have you too. But sit down. We're going to talk. That sticker says a lot about how you're going to behave and how you're going to act. You got to understand, when you're driving your personal vehicle, people aren't always going to do what you want them to do, whether you're going to a call or not. If you get cut off or somebody slams their brake on, you got to behave appropriately. You can't be flashing the bird at somebody. And as there's a photo there, as you see the firefighter flashing the bird, that could be in a fire truck. It could be in a personal vehicle. Doesn't matter. Once that's done, the damage is done. I was following a car to my firehouse one day on one of our main thoroughfares in Snyder, New York. The car in front of me would not let a car in the right-hand lane get in front of it. Every time the car in the right-hand lane sped up, the car in front of me sped up. Every time the car in the right-hand lane slowed down, the car in front of me slowed down. And there were a few gestures back and forth. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this car in front of me is having a bad day. Eventually, the car in the right lane gave up and went off a different way. And I got up to the firehouse, and guess what? That car that was in front of me, not letting the car in the right-hand lane in front, had a fire department sticker on it. One of our department sticker on it. Pulled into the parking lot with that young firefighter, and we had a nice talk about that. He had a very legitimate reason to be upset. The car had done something a few miles back. But I pointed out that the sticker identified him as a firefighter in our department. And now that member might not even been of our community, right? Could have lived anywhere else, but they formed an opinion of our department. And you know what else? They formed an opinion of our fire service. So this behavior that we're talking about, on duty, off duty, at an incident, not on an incident, volunteer, career, it is so important that we behave appropriately. It's also important to remember that what? People are watching us. They're judging us at every interaction we have with them. And what else are they doing? Taping. I'm showing my age there, right? Recording us, taking pictures and recording us, and they're putting it out there. And once it's out there, it's instantaneous. Remember that. How do you want to be captured on video or on someone's still camera? Hopefully you answer, I want to be caught acting and behaving appropriately. And that's what we want our members to do. And be careful. When we're on incident scenes, there's cameras everywhere catching us. I had a firefighter come up to me at an FDIC conference last year and tell me about their department getting caught by a Ring camera. They were out in the street, but the Ring camera caught them saying some inappropriate things and caused some embarrassment for this department. And they're not always easy to see, these cameras. The birdhouse there is an example of how some people put cameras on their property to catch would-be thieves or intruders or whatever. It's also going to capture you out in the street. And I like to tell my members, when they're out in the street, such as that photo there, the firefighters by the rescue rig in the upper left corner of that photo, that's a group of my firefighters at a medical call. We had a crew inside taking care of the patient with the paramedics. We had some extra hands on scene, not uncommon in the volunteer ranks. But we got to remember, it's routine for us. We might want to talk about the big game coming up or the party we were at the night before or the latest joke. But we got to remember, somebody's having a bad day and eyes might be on you. How are we acting? The firefighters in the upper right at a fire, they're proud of the job they did and they have every right to be. They really did a really good job at the fire. They put it out quick. All their training was put to use. They might even give a high five to compliment each other on the great work they did. But remember that somebody's having a bad day. And we need to be aware of that and remember that. And you know what else? We need to teach people this when they come into our organizations. Be proud. Be happy to be hanging out with the brothers and sisters at these calls. Be proud of the work that you did. But temper it down and remember that somebody's having a bad day and we need to act appropriately. And while not related maybe to behavior, we can show that we are a caring agency by this lost art. I call it a lost art anyway, of proper salvage when we're at fires and incidents. I don't think we do this nearly as much as we did back in the day, probably because we don't have as many members as maybe we used to have. But you know what? If we can show people we really care about their possessions and treat their possessions like they're the most important thing to us, we really send a message that we care, and our behavior is nothing less than exemplary in those situations. Treat their possession. You don't know what something means to somebody, right? It's not up to us to judge how valuable something may be or may not be, but it's up to us to treat everything as if it's our residents' most prized possession. So be respectful, not just of how you talk, but be respectful of people's property and possessions. And remember to always be mindful of how our actions appear to the watching public. And our behavior can be impacted in a positive way by doing so many little things correctly. So many little things that we might not often take the time to think about, such as cleaning up glass at an incident where we maybe had to force entry and break a window, or putting the couch back that we had to move to get the stretcher out, or cleaning up our medical waste at a call. We had a call once where a member of our community was working in the bathroom and he fell and he was trying to install a mirror and he got cut pretty badly. His wife and children were at a play downtown in downtown Buffalo. We arrived at the scene. We got him bandaged up. It was nothing life-threatening. He had to go to the hospital. We shipped him off to the hospital. And one of my members said, "Hey, Chief, look at this mess here. Look at all the glass." And we had some wrappings from the bandages and stuff. He goes, "Do you think we could clean it up?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So we located a broom. We had a special kit in our rescue squad that cleans up the blood. And we cleaned everything up. We swept up the glass. We made it nice and tidy. And the police were there and they locked up the house and off we went. And it was a couple of years later, I got a really nice note from the wife who said they had spent hours in the emergency room because the hospital was overwhelmed that night. They didn't get home until very late at night. And the husband was thinking, "I got this mess I'm going to have to clean up." And boy, oh boy, were they impressed when they saw that it was all cleaned up for them. Think that's easy to do? Does that cost your budget anything? Is that something you got a budget for or spend a lot of money on to do something like that? No. But you know what? It definitely impacted our reputation. And we were shown as firefighters who cared and behaved appropriately. I heard once that if a person has a bad experience, that one person tells 11 others, who then tells 5 more. And in no time at all, 55 people are going to hear about that bad experience. And with social media today, I don't even know if these numbers would be accurate. I bet you it's triple that, right? Think of this. I think the same can be said about a good experience. The wife who sent us that letter, think she told her other family members? Think she told her neighbors? So I think if you do something good, it's going to travel just as fast. So think about the impact we can make, that we are a caring agency. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy, and we got to make sure that we want to have fun at the firehouse. I do a lot of presentations about improving morale in the volunteer fire service and making our firehouse a true firehouse. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy and do things to bring attention to us in a negative way. And it's important to remember that this social fitness behavior that we're talking about applies in our firehouse too. We need to understand firehouse humor versus firehouse harassment. And remember, folks, it's 2024. There's always time to have fun in the firehouse, and we want it to be a fun place to hang out for sure. But we can't forget to focus on our mission and train and exercise proper behavior. And if you do it right over time, it's going to affect the culture of your firehouse. And if you do it wrong over time, it's going to affect the culture of your firehouse as well. We need to understand that appropriate organizational behavior applies to our fire departments as well. And we need to know the boundaries of good organizational behavior. It needs to be taught. It needs to be displayed. It needs to be reinforced and upheld. Leadership needs to take it seriously. And if anybody feels threatened or uncomfortable, there needs to be a process that allows members' concerns to be properly vetted and properly addressed. And when we're out in that public, we cannot allow any personal biases that we may have interfere with our mission as professional first responders. Always do the right thing. You know what's right. You know what's right from wrong. You were taught it in kindergarten. Do the right thing always. When it comes to behavior, I had to take just a minute to talk about proper social fitness behavior. Proper social fitness behavior with social media. Social media can be a real problem today, but I want you to think about what your social media posts are saying about your department, about you as a firefighter, and about our great fire service. We've got to post appropriately and keep it professional at all times. And keeping it professional and appropriate behavior means keeping your department business in-house. Don't bring unwanted attention to your department. Nobody really cares that bylaw that you wanted passed didn't pass last week. Nobody really cares that your friend didn't get elected. And to take to the keyboard is just the wrong thing to do and is not good behavior at all. And the other thing with social media, folks, don't troll. This really bothers me. We celebrate our iconic brotherhood and sisterhood of our American fire service. We love to slap each other on the back. How you doing, brother? How you doing, sister? This is great, right? This fire service of ours. But the minute somebody has a bad day, why do people have to become keyboard warriors and attack and troll their sisters and brothers? Anybody can have a bad day. Learn from it. Talk about it in-house. How would we have handled this situation? What would we have done different? But to sit there and just openly criticize everything you think is wrong with the department's operation is anything but professional and really is just horrendous behavior. Do not troll. Can you help me spread that word? Can you talk about it in-house? Sometimes our newer members, our younger members, all they know is instant response with social media. It's what they learned. It's what they've grown up with. It's normal to them. But we need to make them aware of the impact that has on ourselves, our departments, and our fire service. And then we don't want to start wars with other departments. So let's learn from each other. We all have bad days. Let's learn so we can make our department better. Talk about it in-house. Heck, even drill on it in-house, but keep it in-house. And do not troll the sisters and brothers. It's just something we have to put an end to. Let our Maltese cross, our iconic Maltese cross, show the world that there are still really good people in it by behaving appropriately. We live in a nasty, mean-spirited, judgmental world today. There can be no denying that. Don't let it spill over into our fire service world. Let us, those that wear that Maltese cross, show the world that there are still good people in it. And most often, very often, they're found staffing firehouses. And I want to talk a little bit about appearance as we wind down here. I call it looking professional in the performance of our duties, because how we dress can definitely have an impact on our department's reputation. And if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to be thought of as a competent, professional first responder, then I think we should dress and look like a professional first responder. It's not the volunteer fire service of yesteryear. Those were great days. They did incredible things. But we need to remember that we have to look professional and look like a firefighter in the performance of our duties. Appearance does matter, and our choice of attire and how we wear it can impact the confidence people have in us. As I like to say, it can inspire confidence or it can cast doubt. I had a firefighter show up once to a medical call at 3 a.m. in pajama pants. Now, I was happy that he came at 3 a.m. because it's hard to get people out of bed, but I had to talk to him later on about probably not the best attire to be wearing to a medical call. It doesn't inspire confidence. Or if we're at an emergency scene, a serious fire, are we taking the time to dress and gear up appropriately? It matters for more than just looking like a professional. It matters for your health too. And we're going to talk about that as well. But again, our choice of attire and how we wear it can inspire confidence, or it can certainly cast doubt. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard to get out of bed in the middle of the night and try and look professional. I get it. That bedhead, well, it used to be a big deal for me when I had more hair. But no, I get it in all seriousness. But there's things we can do, right? Can we not keep a jacket in our car, especially as volunteers, right? We're out working, we're in the field, we're mowing the lawn, we're swimming in our pool, we're doing anything but staffing a firehouse maybe. So when a call comes in, are there things we can do ahead of time, like keep a sweatshirt or a jacket in our car, keep a ball cap handy that we can put on our head? Yes, there's things we can do. And I know to the person having a very serious call, if you're there doing CPR and you're really helping control the bleed or whatever it might be, they might not judge you. But I'm just saying, when you can do it, it just is a better thing to, as I heard Chief Salka say, Chief John Salka from the FDNY, another name you should know. And one day he said it, there's just something more professional about dressing like a professional. So take the steps, the easy steps that you can certainly take to look and dress professional. And if you're like me, you have no shortage of fire department t-shirts. If I come home with another blue fire department t-shirts, my wife or any of my 4 daughters are going to throw me out of the house. I have dresser drawers filled with them, right? Because we love them. They say so much about our fire service. They celebrate the bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood that we would love to talk about, right? We just love our t-shirts. And there's a lot of good t-shirts that are out there, but there's also a lot of bad t-shirts that are out there that are sold at conferences. I'm not seeing as many of them, which makes me think we're winning this battle. But talk to your members about this. Maybe talk to yourself about it. The gentleman on the right there, big strapping 6'4" man, came up to me at a conference one day and said, "Hey, you, are you mad at the t-shirt I'm wearing?" And he turned around and showed me that. And I don't want to read it to you because it's got some vulgarities on it. But I thought he was going to punch me, but he turned out to be the nicest guy in the world. And he said, "I never thought of this. I never thought of the impact it's having on my department and how it makes us look." So think about it. Think about appropriate attire and think about the t-shirts that you're choosing to purchase and wear because you're proud to be a firefighter, and make sure they're appropriate. And they don't always have to be related to the fire department either, right? Just remember, perception's reality. Did you ever hear that saying before? Perception is reality in people's mind. And if you're wearing t-shirts that are vulgar, sexist, racist, whatever, people are going to think that's how your fire department operates. And it's going to impact that appearance is impacting your department's reputation. And you're not meeting the expectations our communities have of us today. And they don't all have to be fire department related either. We have a professional appearance policy in my department where we ban inappropriate t-shirts. You just can't wear them when you're on duty, which is basically when you're at the firehouse, on the training ground, at a scene, drill night, whatever. You can't wear these types of shirts because you are impacting our reputation. And again, some people might not think of this. Talk about it. Introduce this to your department. Try and showcase that you are staffed by true professionals, volunteer or career. The membership is made up of true professional firefighters. And the bottom line is, have more respect for our profession and just don't bring unwanted attention to it when you do those things. And as I said, it's not just looking like a professional, it's for your own safety as well, right? Time was, it was a badge of honor to have a beat up turnout coat, right? Covered in soot and tattered and carcinogens all on it. We never thought of the dangers it was bringing into our body. But I would be remiss if I did not talk about this cancer epidemic that is so very real. Folks, if for no other reason to dress appropriately and protect yourself, just remember, when you're in smoke, you're in cancer. Chief Kevin Quinn said that from the National Volunteer Fire Council. So I borrowed that quote from him. And we need to remind our members of this. This is a very real deal, this cancer epidemic. Firefighters, as you probably are aware, are so much more inclined to get cancer than other members of the public. And we have to make sure our members are aware of that. And we need to make sure they're taking the steps to properly protect themselves, which means wearing gear when appropriate and cleaning gear as often as possible. We don't think about that when I started talking about appearance. People didn't often think about that, but I think it's important to include that in the conversation. And I certainly hope that you're not fighting cancer or anyone in your department is, but I'm sure there are people in the fire service that are and have. And in my own department, we lost 3 chiefs in a 14-month period to crazy, funky cancers. And the only common denominator between the 3 of them was that they were firefighters. And it was extremely sad. 2 at 49 and 1 at 52. Way, way too young. Folks, the cancer epidemic is very real. Imagine that with your recruitment campaign, right? The cancer epidemic doesn't differentiate between paid firefighters or volunteer firefighters. So take proper care of yourself and dress appropriately. And I want to talk about Fireman Bob Callahan. Fireman Bob, as I finish up. Fireman Bob, we were going to present together down in Louisiana at a conference, and he called me to say, hey, I'd like to meet you. We'll go to dinner. We'll stay at the same hotel so we can share dinner together. And then the conference got canceled because of COVID. A year later, Fireman Bob came into my class at FDIC and sat through it. I had never met him before. He came up at the break to introduce himself to me. We had a wonderful conversation. Just a gentleman. When I talked about cancer in my professional volunteer fire department presentation, where I talked quite a bit about cancer, toward the end of the conversation, he raised his hand and stood up before the group and said, if anyone doesn't want to listen to Tom, listen to me, because I'm a real example of cancer affecting a firefighter. I never knew it, but in my class, Bob told the class that he was fighting stage 4 cancer. And within a year, he passed away. And I just want to put his picture up here because if Fireman Bob could talk to you today, if any of the firefighters we have lost to cancer could talk to you today, especially those just starting out in this noble profession, they would tell you, take this message seriously, gear up appropriately, and take cancer seriously. If they could tell you one thing, that would be it. And I want to just dedicate that to Fireman Bob, because I only knew him for a short time, but he was a true brother. And as I conclude, I ask you to remember a simple thing, people. Our residents have simple, basic expectations of us, as they do with any professional service, right? Any professional organization. And they simply want to receive quality service performed by competent providers who behave appropriately. And when a volunteer fire department or any fire department is able to deliver that type of service and is staffed by members that exercise proper social fitness decorum, both on and off duty, it's definitely going to help label that agency as a well put together, caring, and professional organization that is at the forefront of meeting their community's expectations. So I want to thank the International Association of Fire Chiefs, Chief Buckman, and all the staff for this opportunity to spend an hour with you talking about this, in my opinion, very important topic. Thank you so much.
Well, Tom, thank you. What a great presentation. And let me recognize our IFC staff, Sherry, who's behind the scenes here.
Great.
I have a challenge remembering her name, so it's a running joke with us. But she does great work in helping coordinate these things. Tom, I did have one comment from the crowd. Could you load up into the handout section your professional appearance policy?
Yes.
At your fire department.
We're actually, I get that request quite a bit. And one of the projects I'm working on I'm a commissioner for the Snyder Fire District, and our Board of Commissioners is actually reviewing that now with our attorney. We're updating it. It hasn't been updated in many years. So we're updating it. And I can get you the current policy, and I'd love to update an updated one when we get that done as well.
Well, if you'll send that to Sherry or Nan, they will take care of updating it. When you get they'll get uploaded, and if you get ready to update it or get it done, you can send it back to them, and they'll get it uploaded as well. So, a couple things that again, great presentation, and I know the people on this group on this presentation are going, Oh my God, you know how much work you just added to me? Yes, that is your job as as a fire chief managing volunteers or a career. One of your slides talked about competent performance. And of course, I'm a training guy, and I think that's so important when you look at performance, behavior, and appearance. It is about you training. And I have this quote that I've used for years. And if you see someone doing something screwy, the thing you should ask yourself is who in the heck taught them to do that? And
Yeah.
so
And
it's
who accepted it? Who accepted it too? Who let it become the standard?
and so you have to remember you have to set expectations
Right.
and enforce those expectations. So I think that's a big thing. And John Eversole, who used to be the hazmat chief in Chicago Fire Department, said, how many calls does Chicago Fire Department make every day? And he said they make 1,100 calls a day. How many of those calls do you think the public expects perfection on? 1,100 calls. And the volunteer fire service cannot use the word volunteer as an excuse for less than perfection because the public expects perfection from our performance, whether you're paid, part time paid, not paid at all, whatever. You can't use the volunteer as an excuse. The public expects more. So, a couple comments. I'm looking. There's no other comments from the groups. But you did make a comment, about the World Series, that every run is the World Series. And I would add that every run is the World Series and the bases are loaded. It's in the bottom of the ninth and you're down by 1 run.
Yeah. I'll add
You've
that. I
got,
like
you've
that.
got to make that grand slam.
Yeah.
And, if you don't, your team loses. The most important pitch of your entire year, 162 games.
Yeah.
So with that, Tom, I would say, any closing comments you'd like to make.
No, you talk about establishing expectations and maybe that this is a big chunk of material for chiefs or officers to get through to their membership. That's what drill nights are for, especially in my neck of the woods where we have our winter training where we talk, we do the safety drills and we do the bloodborne pathogens. There's nothing that says you can't put a segment together about expectations when it comes to, behavior and it comes to dress code and things like that. And the boards and powers that be, you got to look in the mirror when it comes to training and decide, are we going to have quality training standards that we hold people accountable for? And if not, then you may not be performing at the top of your game. You might not be able to hit that grand slam.
And I'll send Sherry and Dan. I wrote years ago, probably 6, 7 years ago, expectation questions. How do you ask this volunteer, whether in recruitment or during retention, of here's what we expect you to do. We expect you to attend training. We expect you to get up 3 o'clock in the morning, blah, 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 blah. I'll send that. They can upload that to the handout section as well. Not
Great.
that you're going to use all of them, but the attendees can use some of them to help ask the 5 questions. I'm sure you've done the same thing, Tom. You talk to a volunteer and you go, you're going to have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, respond to a car wreck, and the car's in a van with 6 people in it. They're overturned in a ditch. There's water running down the ditch, and it's 35 degrees. And they go, we do that? Yes, volunteer firefighters do that. Or who do you think did that? Well, I don't know. I never thought about that.
It's not make-believe. It's a real deal.
Right. So, and that's a good statement to end on. It is a real deal. And with the leaders that are attending this and watch this in the future, you need to make people understand it is the real deal. The public depends on you. So we appreciate your time, Tom. Appreciate the book. And I know this is my second pitch for the book, but I am a big reader. And so, I encourage everyone to purchase this book. If you want to improve the way you manage volunteer firefighters, go for it.
And there's my contact.
Here's how you can get a hold of Tom. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, if anybody wants a signed copy, just get a hold of me via my email address there, and I'd be happy to sign a copy and get it out to them. Or you can get it from Fire Engineering Books and Videos, whatever's easier for you.
So there's how to get a hold of Tom. Take your screenshot of that if you want. And then, here's
even
how
the
you
QR
can
code. My kids help me do that.
Yeah.
My teenage daughters.
Yep. That's probably Venmo and
yep.
Yeah, whatever the other one is. I always use, most people use Venmo when they're buying my kind of stuff. So this has been recorded. I encourage you to use this kind of stuff in your officers meeting, or have and give them credit for training attendance, because this is professional development. How do
Right.
you make your current leaders and those who want to be leaders better? And it's not always about sitting in class. Sometimes I want to do something at 10 o'clock at night. Well, guess what? If as the chief you said, hey, I got this recording I'd love for you to look at 10 o'clock at night, they're going to come watch it. Maybe one or two will watch it, and that will help you. So we encourage you to use the recording in whatever way you may decide. But we thank Tom. I guess we went one too slide. Thank Tom for his time, his efforts writing the book, and we thank those who've attended today for being one of us, being a firefighter who cares about the future of the volunteer fire service.
Thank
And
you.
with that, God bless everybody. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.